In this section, we want to talk about how to present a function equation, especially the coefficient of the function equation is changeable. So like assigned to slider values. So whenever you're moving around sliders, the coefficients are changing. And according to that, the function graph is also changing like this. So most typical forms you can find in internet is like this. They give this dynamic graph, and by sliding these values, it shows this equation and the graph together. So it looks like really nice. And this form, right now people are confusing. Like they call this is general form or standard form. Okay? In either way, but just to be between you and me, let me call this is general form. Okay, for the general form for quadratic function. But anyway, so it looks like a really nice setting. Okay, so whenever we change those slider values, this graph and function equations also showing that way. Now the problem is, this is most common mistakes in almost all internet sites. If you change like one of these coefficient value to 0, the graph is okay always. This text, this dynamic text shows this unnecessary terms like that, right? And people just accept it because it's very difficult to handle that. Okay? But in a student's point of view, it might confusing them, right? I mean, uh, it's kind of, yes, understandable, but most likely what they see in this kind of case is just those two terms, right? Not this mid term. So I want to show the exact forms like they see in textbook and any other place, right? So we don't want to show this one, especially if the leading coefficient becomes 0, right? Ooh, then it's not quadratic function anymore, right? It's just a linear function. So most likely we don't want to see that part, right? So in very certain cases, this expression is not good, right? Oh, we don't want to do that, right? So in this section, I want to discuss about it. And this is very tricky and complicated. So I really try to make it simplest form, but still it's confusing. So listen carefully. And you're going to assign some assignments, okay, about this one. Okay, let's talk about these three different cases, then you can get some idea and you can modify these forms for any other forms of function equations later. This is a circle equation, and this is general quadratic function equation, and that is standard form of it, right? Or a vertex form, either way. Okay, so whenever we change the values of it, these slider values, we want to assign those ABCs for sometimes it's coefficients, sometimes it's constants, like that, okay? So in this video, I want to just show how to get this dynamic text for circle equation only, okay? So I already made these three sliders. So, and we don't want that kind of accuracy, so I just assign the increment for 1. So it's only dealing with integer values, but you can change that on later, right? Anyway. Okay, so the most typical way to get that one is typing as it is, right? So x plus a squared, and in GeoGebra, whenever you have certain value and assign to any label, you can use that label or the name as a number, right? As a numeric value. So GeoGebra understands it, right? So whenever you already assign that name and you use that in this input field, the color of that part becomes kind of blue, which means GeoGebra understands it. Oh, you want to put the value for A, right? Which is -1, okay, at that position. So it's blue. But like, let me start typing like y plus d, which is not defined yet. Then the color of that is gray, right? Which means GeoGebra doesn't understand okay, what this d means, right? So when you're typing it, you see whether you make mistakes or not, right? So let me change that on to b, and equals c squared. So it looks like I almost copy the whole thing, okay, in here. Then it already shows the results of it, right? Okay, so let me hit enter key. Then that is the equation for the circle, and the graph is appears over there. Okay? Right now our attention is not the graph, so I don't want to show the graph, but that is equation. Then we want to show the dynamic equation for the circle, which means when you change the values of this, we want to show that exact forms like that. At this moment 0, so it's not, but like that. Just be careful. The typical radius for the circle should be non-negative, right? But we want to use this C for these equations later, so I only assign C from -5 to 5. But for this circle case, only we want to use just the positive numbers for that. Okay, so we want to show this text here. Okay, because most likely we don't use algebra view to show to our students, right? This is for construction part for the instructor, right? So we want to put some text, the dynamic text, in this graphic view. How can you do that? Use the text tool, click anywhere, and over here all we need is, if it's a dynamic, then you should use from here, right? And what's the name of that? Is D, right? So it's a D, so click D. Can you see that? It shows that. Okay, so okay, hit enter. I mean click, okay. Then it shows exact same equation over here. Good thing about this one is if one of them become 0, is automatically change the form. Okay? So this is exact same form we see in the textbook or any other place, right? And even this one take care of this parentheses too. So when b becomes 0, we don't need that parentheses around it, right? So that is a good thing about using conic style. So x, y is either way, right? We have two independent variables. And the name of the entire equation is just the d. So we use that d to get exact form of the equation. Okay? So to make the circle equation, this is enough. Okay? You take care of all the different cases. Okay? But for like this type of polynomial, okay, standard form or general form, we are in big trouble like we saw in this case, right? So we want to take care of that part in the next video.